For the last month, I have been working on planning and solving my cross and first pair. In this video, I'm going to share some of the things I learned, how I got on with that, as well as how it's affected my cube solving in general. So I started this month saying I didn't really have any idea what to do, where to go from. I tested out how long it normally takes me to solve my cross and first pair on average. I ended up with a time of 4.75 seconds, which I felt was ridiculously slow, and to be honest, I thought it was going to be pretty easy to bring that number down by quite a bit, and man was I wrong. I still don't really know what I'm doing in terms of cross and first pair, but I did learn a few things that were quite helpful. Mainly though, what I realized was this is going to take a lot longer than I thought. So, as I mentioned in my last video, the first plan that I had starting out with was basically to solve 3 edges in my cross, and then plan and solve the final cross edge and first pair. This, as you might imagine, was fairly easy. I managed this pretty well, and then moving it down to solving 2 edges, again, not that much trouble. I could see everything in my head, I could get it done fairly quickly, and yeah, pretty much no issues there. Once I got to only solving 1 edge though, it just really jumped. Nothing made sense. It hurt my head. I just wanted to be screaming into a void most of the time, even though it's, in theory, it shouldn't have been that different. It was this really huge gap in my mind most of the time, going from 1 solved edge to try and plan 3 edges of the cross as well as the first pair. This was pretty much my only idea that I had the whole time, so I decided to go search on YouTube, and one of the things I came across, I think it was a video by Dana Yee. She mentioned a website called christianvaughn.net. On this website you can plan many more stages of the cross, so rather than having 1 edge solved, 2 edge solved, you can request scrambles that will take a certain number of moves to solve. So you can have a scramble that will take 1 move to solve versus 2 moves to solve. Both of those might have 3 of the other edges solved already, but it does mean that you have many more increments of difficulty going forward, and this, to be honest, was the main help for me in improving for cross and first pair. I worked out that in order to be sub 12 based on my current splits, I needed to be solving cross and first pair in 3.8 seconds on average to have a realistic chance of making it to sub 12. So I basically took it that I would start with level 1, that is cross solution that only takes 1 move, and I'd do an average of 100. If I managed to get that average of 100 down to 3.8, I'd move up to 2, to 3, to 4, and so on, all the way up to 8. I managed this to get pretty much up to 5, and that's when I started to go over the 3.8 seconds. So most of my time this month I spent going between 4, 5, and 6 move cross solutions, just to see if it could help me get a better understanding, or help me better plan and see how the pieces sit, how they all line up, in order to be able to solve things. Luckily, I did get some really good advice from other cubers. A lot of people were recommending to do kind of some of the same techniques that I did with my cross solving, which were things like writing out the full solution. So instead of just writing out the cross solution, write out the full solution of cross and first pair. I tried this for a while. Again, started to hurt my head. One of the things that I think I'm having to come to terms with is I'm a lot older than a lot of these other cubers I'm getting advice from, and some of the things that worked really well for me back when I started cubing and I was quite a bit younger really don't work for me now. When I was learning OLL and PLL right back at the very start, I just wrote all the algorithms in a notebook, and within a week or two I had memorized all of them. I was just able to look at it, drill it, and drilling it was just enough to have it eventually stick in my head. Now when I'm learning algorithms, I need to come up with a ton of extra stuff. I need to come up with mnemonics, I need to have rhyming words, I need to try it two hands, one hand to notice similarities and differences. I think I can still improve at the same rate when I really want to. It's just I have to go in much more tiny steps. So if there's anyone else older finding these kinds of things in the kind of more advanced stages of cube solving to be really frustrating, bear in mind that a lot of the people who are successful at this are a lot younger, and actually what works for them we might need to break up into a lot smaller steps. That's what I found at the very least. To be honest, after this, there's not that much else to say. One extra technique that I tried doing after getting a comment on a previous video was to look at preserving edge pairs. So basically I just kept doing scrambles until I found an F2L pair already made, and then I just tried solves where I would preserve that pair from the very beginning. This was really clunky and awkward, but it did give me an idea of when I think I'm able to preserve edge pairs, F2L pairs at the minute, and when I'm not. Finally, just like in the cross, one thing that helped a lot with building up speed was blind solving. So for especially the easier solves, like from one move to solve the cross to 4 moves to solve the cross, I spent a bit of time planning it out and then trying to solve it blind. I'm not sure if that helped me with the planning, but definitely in terms of execution, I found once I moved up to the 5-move cross solves, I was doing them a lot faster. And that's basically what I practiced for the whole month. So, moment of truth now, did it get any better? When I measured my cross and first pair at the start of the month, my average time was 4.75. By the end of the month, measuring the same thing, I got it down to 4.13, so not quite down to the 3.8 that I'm going to need if I want to be sub 12 by the end of the year. But let's not forget, this is February. By the time I get to the end of PLL, I will still have 6 months left in the year to try and refine things a little bit further. So not massively unhappy with 4.13. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I really thought that I could get it down to about 2.5 seconds without any great difficulty, but I guess that's what happens when you try out stuff that you don't know anything about. Usually you find out it's more complicated than it looks. And finally, cross and first pair got better. What about my cube solving overall? I pretty much train about 50-50 in each month for these challenges, so 50% of the time working on one specific little bit. So this month the cross and the first pair, planning that out. The other 50% of the time is cube solves, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, but when I'm solving fast, always counting my average. How did that go? Well, it sucked. I started out the month in the low 15s. After about a week, I pretty much spent most of February in the high 15s, and by the end of the month, I'd gone the whole way up to mid 17s. stuff just got worse and literally never got better. It just went from alright to just worse, progressively the whole way through. It was annoying, it was frustrating. I think the frustration added to it. Yeah, it was just this endless cycle of disappointment. I want to kind of reflect on what went on. Was I getting overconfident? Was I just trying too many fast solves? Or was anything else going on? I think partly the frustration I was feeling with trying to solve the cross and first pair, I'm really not joking, it was messing with my head. I think by the time I moved on to doing my actual solves after that, I was pretty exhausted. Another thing that was going on in my life, as part of my business, what I do for my full-time job, I spent the entire month doing vision training and eye training exercises. These are things that I use to train athletes in order to improve their eyesight so that they can move and react faster to things. My goal was to work it out like a kind of high intensity thing, and it also sucked pretty bad. I was very tired throughout the whole month, just because doing intense vision work is probably one of the most strenuous things you can do for your brain, so that really wasn't helping either. But all I got to say is cube solving had a pretty bad month, so I'm really hoping that I can turn things around a little bit for next month. Next month I will be looking at getting up to the second and third pair combined. I'll have a video about that coming up in the next week or so. And yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next time.